with NCLEX Mastery, and today we are going to go through the first of our NCLEX Prep Series on mastering your mindset. The four-part series is going to be test anxiety, content mastery, reasoning and thinking, and then we're going to wrap it up with test taking skills. So today is test anxiety, which is really not a whole lot different from regular anxiety. We're going to talk about how to recognize it, what triggers it, strategies to stop it, and then this is useful whether you're actually getting ready to take the NCLEX or if you're a professional and you're ready to sit for a certification, or if you're just doing a classroom exam. So these are strategies that are going to help no matter what. So maybe in the chat, go ahead and drop maybe signs that you've noticed during tests that you're having test anxiety, because recognizing what your triggers are is going to be one of the things that helps you. So we're going to share some of those. Move my face out of the way there. All right. So just quickly, one of the things that anxiety does is sharpens focus. It helps you feel alert, helps you stay on task. Well, that's a small amount of anxiety. When it gets out of hand and you get kind of a panic state, then you get that fight or flight response and your nervous system starts to kick in and your brain focuses on survival, not problem solving, and problem solving is what you're trying to do for the test. You start to feel overwhelmed, unfocused, rushed. And I even do that when I'm presenting. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people about test anxiety, and I still battle with it and still have to practice these techniques and still trying to get the hang of it. It really just is a lot of practice. So if you're not sure if you've had test anxiety as a problem with your tests, consider on previous exams. Did your mind go blank? Did you feel the need to hurry? Did you change an initial answer? Did you feel like you didn't even know what you were thinking? Did you start breathing really fast or feel like your heart was racing? So those are a good handful of the signs that you might learn to recognize, okay? So recognizing those steps, recognizing those signs can help you figure out what your triggers are and how to address those. So test anxiety, like we said, is a nervous system response. Your body doesn't know the difference between being attacked by a bear and being attacked by this test that's in front of you. Your body starts pumping out adrenaline and it pumps blood to your muscles, which is great if you're fighting that bear. It's not so great if you're trying to sit down and make decisions. It's not great for focus and reasoning, right? So if you're just tuning in, I'm Nurse Kat, and we're talking about test anxiety as part of a four-part series on mastering your mindset for test taking and for the NCLEX. So once you've recognized that you have some anxiety, you want to think about what those triggers might be. So a lot of times it is feeling rushed. Say you only have 60 minutes to get through the test, right? That's time pressure. Fear of failure, worrying about what your grades are going to be. What are the consequences going to be if you fail this test? And that gets really impressive as part of what you're thinking when you get toward finals, right? Judgment from others, family, friends, whatever. Past experiences is a big one. So if you have already had bad results from your tests, you create this anticipatory anxiety, and so you start to feel like you're going to fail even when you haven't done anything toward creating that outcome yet. You've got to remember that this is a new test, a new day, new material. You cannot drag in what you did before because it will affect how you do. Some perfectionism, thinking if I get one question wrong, the world is going to end. This happens a lot on those dosage exams. A lot of schools still have it set up that you have to answer all 10 questions correct, and they'll tell you that if you missed one, it's that you killed a patient. Like, it's a ridiculous amount of stress. So perfectionism does trigger some anxiety. And then one of the big ones that we'll end up talking more about through the series is encountering unfamiliar material or unprepared topics. These can even be questions where the content is familiar, but you're not quite prepared enough. So when you see those analysis questions that are like most appropriate, next, first, best, well, if you know the content but didn't get a chance to understand it enough to know that those things aren't just related, but one of those things actually happens first, that can trigger a lot of panic, right? And again, through this series, this Mastering Your Mindset series, we're going to talk more about how you can address those types of questions so that you can think your way through them, even if your mind did go blank, okay? All right, so if you're in a test and you feel that anxiety setting in, one of the things you need to do is figure out how to break that cycle, okay? So one of the things that can help that is to practice deep breathing, okay? So you want to take 6 deep breaths inside of 1 minute, okay? A nice big inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Deep breaths help activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and it's going to activate that brake pedal for your adrenaline and your anxiety, okay? It slows down your heart rate, it reduces the adrenaline, it stimulates the vagus nerve to help calm your body down, okay? Another thing that you can try is mental grounding. So with mental grounding, you can do this a few ways. First of all, remember to practice on one question at a time. Focus on one question at a time, exactly how it reads. Don't read into it, those kind of things. You can practice replacing your self-talk. So if you hear yourself telling yourself, I can't do this, remember to replace that with, yes, I can do this, I'm prepared, I'm ready. Take a pause, remind yourself that you are in control. You can even do physical grounding. Touch the desk, feel it in your hands, feel your backside in the chair, and feel present in where you are so you don't feel like you're floating away with your anxiety, okay? So these techniques, this deep breathing, those are things that are going to help increase the oxygen to your brain, increase your focus, increase the nitric oxide and blood flow to your brain. So those are some of the things that can help. Now, if you're just tuning in, I'm Nurse Kat with NCLEX Mastery. We're talking about test anxiety, and this is part of a 4-part Mastering Your Mindset series. Later in the series, we'll talk about test taking skills, understanding content, and how to reason through different questions and scenarios. So what's better than recognizing your test-taking anxiety triggers? What's better than managing them when they happen is preparing ahead of time and preventing them, right? So simulate test conditions ahead of time. Practice test under time pressure. If you know that you're going to be watching the clock, watch the clock somewhere else. Take your test in the library with 60 minutes, whatever it is that you need to do to feel that time pressure, okay? And get used to it. That's going to help you remember how to respond, help you learn how to respond. You're going to learn some test-taking strategies with us in the coming weeks, and that will also help because even when you see questions that you don't know, you're going to know how to address them anyway, okay? Practice those calming techniques. That it's just like anything else. That deep breathing takes practice, and the more you've practiced it, the more you're going to be able to do that when the time comes, okay? You're going to want to arrive to your test-taking site early. If you're in your classroom test, you want to get there a little early. Now, don't go in and start talking to everybody about how scared you are about the test. Use that time to walk around the campus, to jam out in your car to some music that makes you take those deep breaths and sing really loudly and badly. Do a little dancing in your car, something to get the wiggles out, to get your deep breaths rolling, okay? You're going to want to sleep well the night before. Whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you're getting enough rest. You can't make lots of decisions when you're sleep deprived. It's just not a good idea, right? Sometimes you can't, whatever. Try to eat a balanced meal. And I don't mean a big meal. A big meal will make you tired, but a little oatmeal with some walnuts, a cheese sandwich, something that's got a little protein, a little fat, something that's going to stabilize your blood sugar so that you don't get that weird adrenaline rush or don't get the low sugar feeling or any of those things, okay? You're going to want to, like I said, take a walk around the building, something like that, dancing, something to help get those good hormones in, those good endorphins, and help replace the adrenaline. And then only change an answer if you misread the question. So lots of people say don't ever change your answer. That's not true, okay? If you look at the question again and realize, of course you can have milk. Milk's great, as long as you don't have, lactose intolerance. If you misread the question and, it said which action is first, or the nurse questions which action, and you didn't realize that the first time you answered it, then you should absolutely change your answer, right? But otherwise, go with whatever your intuition said. Now, if you have strategies that you love for getting rid of test anxiety, or for grounding, or for remembering that it's just a test, if you have strategies for any of that, drop them in the channel and help out all of your fellow students, okay? So, to kind of wrap it up, what you want to do is recognize the signs of test anxiety, okay, before it spirals. You want to understand what your triggers are, and that way you know what's coming in advance. You can see that coming for you. You want to practice those breathing techniques so that your body and your mind has lots of experience with regaining focus. And you want to practice those techniques often, because being calm when you're stressed out is a practiced skill, okay? And it'll improve over time. So we want you to follow us for more study tips. We want you to join our next live session, which will be next week. Next week, we're going to talk about how to master the content, how to study. And after that, we're going to talk more about test taking skills and reasoning, okay? So all of those answers are coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and we want you to stay tuned.